Welcome back, everyone. Time to do another comparison this time around between the iPhone 12 newly released and the somewhat older iPhone 6s Plus. Now, the 6s Plus is turning 5 years old this year, so it's kind of crazy. This phone came out in 2015. The iPhone 12 just came out. So let's go and see how both these things compare. And the iPhone 12 is costing $829 payment. Not I was about to say $1,000. $829. The 6s Plus you can pick up in a lot of places for like $100 to $150. So definitely not a lot of money. It's fairly cheap for the phone that you're getting, but side by side you can see that the iPhone 6s Plus is far bigger than the iPhone 12. And I don't know if that's a big deal to a lot of people, but the funny thing is that you're actually getting a smaller display on the iPhone 6s Plus. The iPhone 12 has a bigger display. On the 6s Plus, we have a 5.5-inch IPS panel, and it's 1080p. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, like, it's actually not a bad panel. I think it's just everything surrounding the panel is just a little weird because it's just so much bezel. The home button is a little bit of an outdated design. I'm personally not a huge fan of it anymore, but I totally think it's okay for a lot of people too. For the price tag, you look at a phone like an iPhone SE2, pretty much the same concept, and Apple just released that this year. But the panel itself's not bad. It's just kind of like everything surrounding it is a little bit weird. And the iPhone 12, on the other hand, has that 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, and that for sure is a really good panel. It's definitely one of my favorite panels on an iPhone, obviously, but I think even from an iPhone 10 to this panel, it's not really a crazy big difference. But definitely when you look at both of them side by side, the iPhone 6s Plus, it doesn't have that good of a panel compared to the iPhone 12s, but I still think the 6s Plus's panel, for the most part, is okay for the majority of people out there. Now, in terms of the thickness, the 6s Plus is, I think, a little bit thinner in the hand than the iPhone 12. You guys can kind of see that. We do have that flat design on the iPhone 12, which feels and looks really cool. The 6s Plus, I think, is perfectly fine for a majority of people, and it still feels very premium. But the iPhone 12, I think, just feels a little bit thicker, but it feels more premium than the iPhone 6s Plus. And on the back, we have a dual camera setup on the iPhone 12 and a single camera setup on the iPhone 6s Plus. Glass back on the iPhone 12, aluminum build on the 6s Plus, and definitely side by side, the iPhone 12 feels like a more premium device. You have wireless charging as well as the MagSafe connectability on the iPhone 12. The iPhone 6s Plus does not have anything like that. So in terms of the outside, for sure, the iPhone 12, I think, is the far more premium device. It feels better in the hand, it looks better. The 6s Plus is still, I think, for a 5-year-old device, doesn't look that bad. It actually still looks pretty decent in my opinion. So in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it up. Now in terms of the internal and software, I can definitely tell you like this, the iPhone 6s Plus is probably on its last leg of software. Maybe iOS 14 is going to be the last version, I would probably assume so. Versus the iPhone 12, it's going to be supported for 5 more years at least, maybe more, maybe less, but around that 5-year mark. So definitely when it comes down to that, software-wise, the iPhone 12 is definitely going to outlast the iPhone 6s Plus. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between these two devices. The iPhone 6s Plus had that Apple A9 chip with 2 GB of RAM. The iPhone 12 has that Apple A14 Bionic chip with 4 GB of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, let me go and clear out all the apps in the background, which I think they're already clear. Yep. Okay, let's open them up. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And I'm already seeing noticeable differences in the speed between these two. Let's go to Safari and let's just load up a web page. Apple, 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone 12 is faster. iPhone 6s Plus noticeably behind this time. Scrolling speeds kind of look about the same, but definitely faster on the iPhone 12. App Store, 3, 2, 1. Again, iPhone 12 far faster, and the iPhone 6s Plus, noticeably behind it. Scrolling speeds, again, they look kind of the same. The 6s Plus did a really good job at kind of maintaining its smoothness throughout, even with iOS 14. The iPhone 12 was definitely faster there. Now I have a bunch of these third-party apps, which I don't know why there's so few here, but I guess it's whatever. Let's do Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And even just loading up the app seemed so much faster on the iPhone 12 than the iPhone 6s Plus. You can see we're, pretty much going to be, I think, fully loaded before the iPhone 6s Plus even gets into it. And we're fully loaded, yep. And the 6s Plus eventually gets into it. So even this app, I mean, there's so much difference between these two. And also I want to note, as soon as I click play, look how much longer it takes on the iPhone 6s Plus to, eventually get into it. So I clicked on it. There is a noticeable delay even just clicking play on the 6s Plus, which I think is a pretty big deal. So if I go and play a little bit, I'm sure that'll be about the same. But that one app kind of says a lot. Now I did have BOFA, but I guess it's not being shown here. Let's do Twitter, 3, 2, 1. iPhone 12 faster. iPhone 6s Plus noticeably behind. Netflix, 3, 2, 1. And again, iPhone 12 is faster, 6S Plus noticeably behind. Quizlet, 321. And again, the iPhone 12 was way faster there. Thank you, 321. And again, the iPhone 12 is faster. iPhone 6S Plus is noticeably behind this phone. And it was stuck on a black screen for a while. I don't know what happened there, but definitely for sure. I think gameplay is about the same, but definitely when it came down to the performance, faster on the iPhone 12. Snake versus Blocks, 321. iPhone 12 is faster. 6S Plus, definitely behind, but it's noticeably behind than the other devices. The 7 Plus was actually doing a pretty decent job. Glitchiness, I think, is going up a little bit on the iPhone 6S Plus compared to the iPhone 12. There's a little bit more stuttering, but that was definitely faster on the iPhone 12 for sure. Let's do Fruit Ninja. 3, 2, 1. And like I said before, even clicking the app was faster on the iPhone 12. And we do have a little bit of a different game here. I don't know what's going on with it. Eventually, we did get into it. The iPhone 6S Plus was definitely slower. And eventually, we got into this panel, but it was for sure faster on the iPhone 12. Let's do Temple Run 2, we already did. Now, I don't know what happened to the rest of these. Like, they kind of just went away. Stack, 3, 2, 1. And you can see again, the iPhone 12 is going to be faster, even with the little pop-ups on both. And that one was a pretty big difference in my opinion as well. We can do some minor apps too. We can do camera, 3, 2, 1. And again, almost like fully loaded on the iPhone 12 by the time we open it up. We can do calendar, 3, 2, 1. And even just a small app like that, faster on the iPhone 12. Clock, 3, 2, 1. Again, faster on the iPhone 12. I really want to do settings, 3, 2, 1. And notice even these smaller apps, these system apps are faster. So you're going to have a overall faster experience on a phone like an iPhone 12 than on an iPhone 6S Plus. So what I can tell you is, I mean, even RAM management is going to be better. You're getting twice the amount of RAM here. I've said this before and I'll say it again. When you're going back this far, you're pretty much going to be getting, pretty much faster performance across the board on a phone like an iPhone 12 than on an iPhone 6S Plus. I think there's some gray area between like an iPhone 10s, even like an iPhone 10 to an iPhone 12, but definitely when you go back far enough to an iPhone 6S Plus, you're definitely going to be getting better performance, but RAM management is seeming very weird. For 4 gigabytes here for twice the amount of RAM, it's not really doing like twice the amount of performance in my opinion. Like, of course, app opening speeds and everything are faster, but I'm not expecting it to be this slow between them. I guess it's a little bit okay, but I'll do a full speed comparison between these at some point, but this was pretty interesting in my opinion. So in terms of the performance, that pretty much covers it up. Let's go and hit on the cameras. So as stated before, dual camera setup on the iPhone 12, a 12 megapixel wide, 12 megapixel ultra wide. iPhone 6s Plus has a 12 megapixel single wide angle lens. And in terms of the UIs of both, you'll basically be able to see that they still look the same pretty much for the most part. We do have that ultra-wide sensor on the iPhone 12, which is nice. And we do have the ability of doing 4K on both phones, but we have the ability of doing 4K at 60 on the iPhone 12, which is really cool. On the front cameras, there's also some pretty big improvements. We can do 4K at 60 on the front camera of the iPhone 12, or we can only do 1080p on the iPhone 6s Plus. So that in and of itself is a pretty big difference. You're going to be getting a far better front-facing camera from the iPhone 12 than on the iPhone 6s Plus. Now, funny enough, a lot of the features are still the same. The UIs look almost identical. You have portrait mode obviously on the iPhone 12, but definitely when it comes down to it, I think the iPhone 6s Plus has a pretty good camera for the most part for a 5-year-old phone. You have a lot of capability. I think the thing that dates it the most is probably the lack of like a telephoto or ultra-wide sensor, but I think for a majority of people, those things are not novelty, but like kind of like up in the air, like whether you need them or not. I think with a phone like the iPhone 6s Plus, it has a good camera for a 2015 phone. It's just the front camera is just really not that great compared to the iPhone 12. Now with the iPhone 12, I think you're probably getting a better camera. I think that's a given. You have that standard 12 megapixel wide angle lens, but you also have that ultra wide sensor, which makes it a better camera. And I will do a full camera comparison between these two. This is just like a quick one in this full review. But I think when you factor in those things, again, when you look at it like a 10s and 11 Pro to the 12, maybe there's not that much of a difference. Maybe there is. But between an iPhone 6s Plus, a 5-year-old phone, and iPhone 12, there's obviously going to be some differences. The front camera of the iPhone 12 is also far better, 4K at 60 here, versus the whatever 1080p on that camera. So regardless, the iPhone 12 is going to have a better camera for sure. Now in terms of battery life, I also pretty much saw that the iPhone 6s Plus didn't really quite compete with the iPhone 12's battery life. The iPhone 12 had a far better battery life than the 6s Plus, which was kind of surprising because the battery sizes are pretty, I mean, there's like a couple 100 milliamp hour difference, but I think at the end of the day, the iPhone 12 had a better battery life, and I'll eventually show you that when I drop that full battery comparison that I did. So In terms of that, that pretty much covers it up. And to kind of sum up the video and say answer the question, should you get the 6S Plus? Should you get the iPhone 12? Should you keep your 6S Plus? I think going from an iPhone 6S Plus to the iPhone 12 is an extremely big update. You're getting, first of all, a phone that is going to be supported with software for much longer than the iPhone 6S Plus. The 6S Plus is going to be outdated very, very soon, whether you guys believe it or not. It's not going to last forever. This phone has already gotten a couple updates that I didn't think with iOS 14, for example. So this phone is going to be lasting for probably another year or so before it's outdated. The iPhone 12, you won't even have to worry about updates. And I think that's probably the biggest difference between these two is the software and just the longevity. Now, the other things like performance and camera, you can probably make it last on the 6S Plus. If you've already been making it last, then I'll definitely say like so far so good. But I also think, and I've said this before, between the iPhone 6S Plus and even going to an iPhone 11 or even an iPhone 10R, those are some pretty big differences as well. And I think that's one of the strongest assets of these iPhones, and the fact that Apple is still selling an iPhone 11 and iPhone 10R makes this phone kind of seem like an overpriced option. With the $829 price tag, the iPhone 11 costs $599, the iPhone 10R costs $499. So those are some differences there too. The 6S Plus still feels like a pretty good phone, still feels pretty premium. It's just the performance isn't really that great compared to the iPhone 12. And the biggest thing about this is the price tag and the supportedness that it is now, because it's still supported. But I think that's going to change very, very soon. The iPhone 12, as you guys know, is not going to be outdated next year or anything like that, but it also costs a lot more than the iPhone 6S Plus. So I think when it comes down to it, I would recommend obviously going to the iPhone 12 from this phone. It's a way better phone as we demonstrated, but I honestly think going from an iPhone 6S Plus to an iPhone 11 or even an iPhone 10R is really good value too. So in terms of everything, that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, look, every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.